Hey lovelies, welcome back to my channel. I'm really excited for today because we are going to be doing a full face of my least expensive items. If you saw, I recently did a video on my full face of most expensive items, and I thought it would only be fair if I did this one as well. So if you haven't checked that one out, I'll link it up above. But for today, we're gonna be working with a budget. And I think that, there are some really great drugstore products or products that are just that super inexpensive price point. Now, I will say when I was going through and looking at the products that I have, a few of my least expensive were some that I've talked about so much on this channel. So I have chosen to pull out my second least expensive item in that case, just so that we have something different to talk about. And in all honesty, I was able to play with some things that I haven't used in a while. So I hope you'll forgive me on that one, but I will mention both items in that case. So it'll be interesting to compare. I'll probably put up a picture like side by side of my most expensive to my least expensive at the end of this look, because we'll have to see, is it worth spending that extra dollar, or can you find some really exciting items on a budget? So let's get right into it. All right, so first let's prime our skin. Today I'll be using the ColourPop Pretty Fresh Hydrating Hyaluronic Acid Primer. Now, this is a very rich emollient primer, and it is like the middle of July, so I don't know that this is necessarily going to be the one that most people want on their skin this time of year, but given the foundation that I'm going to be using, I think that this will work out really well. So I'm just going to use a little bit, maybe like half a pump. I would say you could even use this as like a moisturizer on a day where you just need to get out the door quick. So if you need to cut out a step in your skincare routine, I could honestly see using this as your moisturizer for that day, just because it is so rich. If you do have oily skin, I would skip it this time of year. Now, the only thing I have to say about this, and I find this a lot when you're using less expensive items because of the packaging, this cap, it doesn't stay on very well and it snapped almost right away. In all honesty, that doesn't bother me that much. Usually I would probably just toss this cap, but if you ever wanted to travel with this, I wouldn't want this pump like open because it could like squeeze out all over everything. And that's one of the things that I really think rings true in some of those less expensive products. You're really paying a lot for packaging, and sometimes that might just mean the beauty of packaging, but sometimes it means the durability of packaging. So again, this is one thing that I will probably keep at home and not travel with, but it does give a nice glow to the skin. Now for the foundation today, we're going to be using the Wet n Wild Photo Focus Stick Foundation. I actually haven't used this a lot. I think I picked it up for one of my drugstore videos, and I've only used it a couple times. So I have it in this shade Vanilla Beige. This might be a little bit light for me this time of year, but if it is, I have another product that we can sneak in, and that should help the situation. So I don't really want a lot of coverage on my skin. I really just want like a light to medium. So I'm hoping that I can brush this out to be a little bit more sheer. I have the most, okay. If you use this, you have to have the stick like fully cranked down, or the cap will hit it. So that's a little advice from me. Just figured that out. Oh, I think I was saying before I got distracted by smushing my foundation into the lid that I have such discolored eyelids. Like, I am not someone that can get away with just like walking out of the house without a little something on my eyelids if I want to feel put together. Like, even if I'm not putting coverage on my face, I still tend to go through with a lightweight concealer over my eyes. But this foundation seems to have really covered that up nicely. When I used this last, I think it was in the winter time or the fall, and so my skin was probably more dry. I have a feeling that that combo of the primer and the foundation together made something that I really like, because I don't remember enjoying this as much as I do now last time. This is a very inexpensive product, so this might be one that comes into my rotation. So I'm just going to put a little bit more coverage just right through this area. Definitely going through a breakout stage right now, so I'll just give a little bit more coverage. Wow, you guys. What do you think? I like this foundation stick. All right, now for concealer, I have two options that were about the same price. I have the Maybelline Instant Age Rewind Concealer. This is a classic and a longtime favorite of a lot of people. I also have the ColourPop Pretty Fresh Concealer. And I thought, maybe since we used the primer that this would be a good one to use. I did not love this the first time I tried it. I actually did a first impressions review of it. And I find that I've just learned to use it in a different way. I still don't think it's like the best concealer out there, but if you're looking for just that light coverage, it really is a nice concealer. They're both around that $9 to $10 range. I think this is actually $9 and this is like $9.99. So what I'm gonna do for today is actually mix the two together just so I get, you know, the lightweight feel of this one with a little bit more of the coverage from this one, if that makes sense. So I'm gonna go through and apply that and blend it out, and we'll see what we have for our skin. All right, so now we have just a little bit more coverage in the areas that I need it, and I feel a little bit more brightened under the eye. I have to say, I have definitely, like I said, been finding ways to enjoy this Pretty Fresh concealer a little bit more. Now, that being said, I don't think I would ever repurchase this. There's just so many concealers on the market now, but I have found mixing this with other concealers, I get some of the benefits of this, like the glowiness that I enjoy, but really get to use the other concealer that I enjoy the coverage and the longevity of a little bit more. So this is one that I'll just almost use as a mixing medium until it's gone, and then won't repurchase anymore. But I do like the look right now. So now, if you guys know me, there's really only like 1 or 2 powders that I ever use, and I haven't found a great drugstore powder. So if you know of a great drugstore powder that you enjoy, please let me know in the comment down below. I've tried out like the Rimmel Stay Matte before. This was like years ago. Didn't really enjoy that one, but I have a feeling that there are so many more beautiful drugstore products now that maybe there is something out there that I would enjoy. Usually I use the Hourglass Veil. I do also have the Hourglass Ambient powders that I'll use as like a finishing powder if I want a glowier look. So let me know if you have a suggestion for me in the comments down below. But for right now, I'm going to use the RCMA No Color powder just because this is so inexpensive. I think that this whole bottle is like $14, and I'm mostly concentrating it on the T-zone and the under eye area. And then with whatever's left on my brush, I just swirl it around and set everything down. So to me, this just doesn't even look like powder, which I really enjoy. So if you would like to try this one out, you can get it on the Beautylish website, and I will link all of the products that I'm using today down in the description box for you guys as well. I know I was talking about using another product if I felt like I needed a little bit more color to my skin, but I actually think that that foundation blended in pretty well. However, I could have gone through with these Flowery Heatwave Bronzing Essence drops if I wanted to add a bit more color to the skin. These are great to throw on underneath your foundation, or you can mix them in. You can also use it as a liquid bronzer, so these are great. I did feature these in my Full Face of Flower Beauty video if you guys want to check that out. So this would have been a great option if I needed a little bit more color, but I think we're okay. So to talk about powder bronzer. Now, I think I only have one drugstore bronzer in my collection right now, and that's the Physicians Formula Butter Bronzer. I've talked about this a lot. It's been in lots of favorites videos. In fact, it's in my most recent summer favorite bronzer list. I'll link that one up there as well for you guys if you want to check that one out to get your summer glow on. But what I decided to do was go through and find out my second least expensive bronzer, and that is another favorite of mine, Bahama Mama from The Balm. I'm surprised that this is listed at only $20, and considering how pigmented this is, it is honestly such a great buy. Now, you guys can see I've really loved this one. I have another backup of it. So this is really a fairly deep, not cool toned like a contour, but definitely doesn't have like orangey toned bronzer. Does that make sense? It's like a very cool neutral bronzer. Wow. It has a slight satin finish to it, so it really blends nicely. I'm just going to use that on a fluffy brush and go through, and we'll give ourselves a little life. So the nice thing about this is never going to make you look orange because it doesn't have that like extra warmth to it. So it really works well. You can certainly contour with this. I've definitely done that. But it works really nice as a bronzer if you just use a nice big fluffy brush. I really miss getting to put on bronzer and blush. Missing being able to not, well, of course we're all like wishing we could not be wearing masks, but I don't really bother with, you know, skin makeup right now, just since I have to wear a mask and it's just gonna get all smudged around underneath it anyway. So maybe that's why I'm piling on so much of it today. Making up for it. So you guys can see, you're gonna get that beautiful soft summer glow, but you could put like half of this compact on and not look orange. You might look hella muddy by that time, but you won't ever look orange. So I really enjoy this one, and it's definitely been a favorite of mine for a long time. All right, I'm gonna hold off on blush and highlighter until we get our eye look done. That way I can kind of choose which color I wanna go through. But let's go ahead and take care of these brows. Now I'm a little nervous because the most inexpensive brow product in my collection right now is the Etude House My Tint 4-Tip Brow. And if you guys saw my K-Beauty haul from Yes Style, I attempted to use this and it didn't go super well. And I really meant to give it a try a couple times because I think it could go well with a little bit more practice. But that being said, I haven't had that practice. So I thought I would just give it a go, try it out again. This is gonna make me practice more with this. Now, this is one of those pens that has those 4 tips on it, so you'll be able to get like little strokes. So the problem last time is I went in like not at an angle, and I think you need to go in at an angle so it doesn't just look like a rake went through your eyebrows. You need it kind of so that these are all at different starting points. I don't know, I'm gonna give it a go. We'll see how we do. Oh, you guys, I don't know. Like, I actually don't mind this eyebrow so much, but that's usually like my good eyebrow these days, and this eyebrow kind of got like Wolfman again. I don't think it's as bad as it was the first time I used them. Okay, I was really hoping that this would end up saving me some time with some practice. It might still, because I would say that I did like a 10% better job than I did in that first video, so maybe I'll have to practice with it a little bit more. I think though I'll probably still use this in combination with the Ardell pen that I like, just to be able to get like one hair at a time in the areas that I need. But I tried it out, so there you go, we got some brows. All right, so now let's go ahead and get into the eye makeup. I've used this palette on my channel before, and this is the Wet n Wild Comfort Zone palette. This is the new version. I still have my old version. It's just like one of those nostalgic things. So this one we're gonna use today, and I'm trying to remember what kind of eye look I did in the full face of like most expensive. And I'm sure it was probably just something like warm and blown out because it's me after all. So maybe I'll try to do something like kind of similar-ish just so we can sort of compare to see like, does it make it worth it when you spend high-end money? I really do like this palette. It has some good transition shades. You've got that pearlescent shade that you can use as a brow bone highlight, and then you've got some fun colors in here as well. So I'm gonna just go ahead and play a little bit with this, and I'll speed through the look and we'll see what it looks like when we're done. All right, so just to kind of fill you guys in on what I did for this look, I went through with this top warm shade through my crease, and then just blew that out and added this shade here on my inner lid and this one on my outer lid. Then I decided to add this lower kind of mauve tone to my lower lash line because I think it'll tie in well with the liners that we're going to use. So I will say, I mean, I think that this looks really good. Now, the metallics in this palette, I mean, I guess they aren't really true metallics. There's really only one that's, I would say, a metallic, and that's this blue shade, and I did use that in my previous video. But these are all more just like shimmers, and I don't think that they are nearly as like reflective as what you get in some higher end palettes, but you guys, this is only like $6 or something like that. So for that price, I'm definitely happy with it. So now let's talk a little bit about liners. Now, if you know me at all, you know I'm a big fan of the ColourPop cream gel liners. These are really, I think, the only like gel liners that I use from the drugstore. I think I have a couple like liquid liners lying around somewhere that are probably dried up at this point, but I really do enjoy these. Now, of course, ColourPop is like changing out shades all the time, but as I got ready to film this, I do know that they have this teaspoon still in stock. This is like a fun, like Kelly green, and they also have Honeydewed, which I'm gonna use on the inner rim just to help brighten that up. If you guys can see, those are like the world's tiniest swatches. I mean, it's ColourPop, like you don't have to be so chintzy on the swatches, Kelly. There we go. So you guys can see those are both really pretty shades. I do enjoy how creamy these are, and they're great if you want to also smudge them out with a shadow over the top. So I'm actually going to go through with a shade that I don't think you can get anymore, but this is something that'll kind of go with our look. This is Joyride. It's like a nice burgundy toned shade, I thought I'd just run that along the upper and lower just to kind of smoke it out with that mauve tone. So first we'll go through with this, and then after that I'm going to go through with Honeydew on my inner rim. All right, so now that I've got the liner down, I'm just going to take a smudge brush and use that lower mauve transition shade and just smoke this out a little bit. Now these do dry down pretty well, so you know, you don't want to like put your liner on and then go drink a whole cup of coffee before you come back to smudge it out, because that's not going to happen. So I would just, you know, you could even do one eye and then do the other, but I'm being reckless today and put the liner down first and then we'll smudge both out. Okay, I really like that, especially with my eye color. That little bit of that like burgundy shade really makes my eye color pop. So it's a great way to just get a little bit of color added into your look. And now we'll go ahead with the Honeydew shade, just that nude color right on the inner rim. This is really just gonna help give me a more open-eyed appearance, especially my eyes are pretty irritated today, I think just from my allergies. And I didn't put any whitening drops in them, so they're looking a little bit pink right now, but that will just give us a little bit of a more open look to the eye. And I think now we can move on to the rest of the face before we go ahead and do mascara. So for the blush, I have two Wet n Wild shades. Now I think this is funny because just like in my high-end video, in this least expensive video, you'll see the same brands a lot. So like Wet n Wild, ColourPop, those are two brands that I know that I can usually count on for decent quality products. So just like in the higher end, if I'm gonna spend a lot of money, there are really a couple brands that I'm gonna trust with my buck. So these are both really pretty blushes. I have Rosé Champagne, which is a very nude color, and then we have Pearlescent Pink, which is much more pinky. So I think because I'm going to do a brighter lip, I think we'll go ahead and do the Rosé Champagne just so we aren't like super colorful. Now again, this is a more nude toned blush, but it does have a bit of shimmer to it. I haven't pulled this one out in a while. Okay, so when I was thinking about highlighters, the first thing I thought about was the Wet n Wild Mega Glow Hello Halo liquid highlighters. But I've used these a lot on this channel, so I wanted to give a different product a chance. And this is super fun because surprisingly, it's one that I haven't pulled out in a long time. And that is the ColourPop Super Shock highlighters. These are such fun products. Everybody knows about these. This formula is really what put ColourPop on the market. Like between their highlighters, their blushes, and their eyeshadows, this Super Shock formula, it's like a moussey dry mousse, something kind of like that, but this is Smoke and Whistles. I did see that this is actually still available on the Ulta website. So I'm kind of using one fingertip to apply and the other to blend it out. These are so fun. Now I'm not going to pack too much of this shade on because it is fairly pinky and light toned, and I don't want to have like too much texture showing. But if you are a little bit fairer than I am, this would be a beautiful color. All right, not looking too bad, you guys, especially considering that every item we used other than the bronzer and the powder are under $10, and that powder is only $14, but the bronzer, we kind of cheated. It's a $20 bronzer, but give me a break. So now we're gonna go through with the Milani Make It Last setting spray. This is probably my favorite drugstore setting spray, and I'm gonna go ahead and put this on before we apply our mascara and our lip color. Okay, so I haven't really been venturing out much into the world of mascara. I just have so many, and you guys know that the L'Oreal Telescopic Carbon Black is my all-time ride or die, but I found that I had this little sample that I'd gotten from, I believe, Ulta at some point, and this is the Maybelline Lash Sensational, and I've heard really great things about this, so I'm gonna give this one a go. I'm really excited. I honestly think that the drugstore has some really amazing mascaras. I know that I've used the Essence mascara in the past. One of them, I think it's Lash Princess that I tried, and that was actually a pretty good mascara if you like more like thick lashes. I really prefer long fluttery lashes, so I'm not quite sure how this will do, but this has a brush that looks pretty promising. So let's curl up our lashes and we'll give it a go. Okay, I have to say, I'm fairly impressed with this. It's definitely not as lengthening as the L'Oreal Telescopic Carbon Black, but it is really volumizing. I found a couple things. One, that I managed to make a mess of my lower lash line, but I think that that was because it's a very wet mascara still, and you know, you gotta like get into that like 1 week in where it's like at the sweet spot where it isn't quite so wet. The other thing is I'm wondering, I feel like, I don't know, I can't tell if it's just because they're so thick and not as long, but I feel like they didn't hold the curl quite as well. Maybelline used to have my all-time favorite mascara. It was called Lash Stylist, and it literally, the comb, like the brush was like a comb, just a comb with like teeth, and that thing was like a push-up bra for your lashes. It was amazing. They discontinued it without notifying me, so I could go out and buy 10 tubes, and I'm so sad. If any of you guys tried that mascara, let me know. I'd be curious if you loved it too, but this one is pretty good. I will be interested to see what it's like when I do one coat of telescopic and then do this over the top. That's really how I do a lot of my mascaras, is I use the telescopic as like a primer and then go over the top with another one. But not too bad. Very glad I got that little sample. So let's go through with lips. I'm going to go through with the Jordana Baby Berry Liner. You can still get these for sure on the Walgreens website. I'm not sure if they're in store at Walgreens anymore, but these are so nice. They're just your average twist up liner, but they come in lots of beautiful colors. They're like $1.50 a piece, and I love them. So we're gonna go through with this one first. And we'll just blend that in, and I'm gonna go over the top with the Revlon HD Gel Lipstick in HD Vineyard. Now, I've done these in a couple favorites videos, and I wasn't sure if they were being discontinued because I had a hard time finding them, but they still are on the Revlon website, and I'm sure you must be able to find them still. So this is a beautiful, like, mauve-y berry shade. I really like it. And these lipsticks are so hydrating and creamy. So good. All right, guys, here we are with our full face of my least expensive products. What do you guys think? Do I look like I've been cutting corners with my budget? I don't think so. I think this is really good. I think out of everything, I have to say the lipstick, like, I think you can find some amazing lipsticks at the drugstore. I have a hard time spending high-end money on lipsticks, especially when you start creeping up into those like $30 tubes and above. That just gives me like the chills. I like the eyeshadow palette. It looks really nice, and you just don't get quite that reflective quality that you can get with some higher end shadows, but I think the skin looks amazing. I'm definitely going to be pulling that Wet n Wild foundation stick out again. So thank you guys for encouraging me to play a little bit in my stash. Let me know some of your drugstore favorites, and thank you so much for hanging out with me. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, I would love it if you would come join me here. Don't forget to hit the notification bell so you are notified of upcoming videos. Again, I appreciate your support, and I'll see you really soon. All right, so first we're gonna use a primer. Today I'm gonna use the